Hi everyone, welcome to the press. Welcome to 2026 in the PGA Tour season. I'm Ryan Ballingy. It's good to have you here with us. We're kicking things back off anew to get a new year going here on the show. We'll get into the schedule of things for the week, of course, and then I'm going to talk a little bit briefly about how this show will go this year. A little bit different than last year, not quite too huge a change, but this week we have on the PGA Tour our debut of the season with the Sony Open in Hawaii. That's what this show is going to be about, kind of first thoughts, first clicks, general information. We'll go over that today. Tomorrow will be a video show that will also be the audio component to it. That'll be the more in-depth version of the show, right? We'll talk about our model. We'll talk about horses for courses. We'll talk about data and all that stuff. Recognizing up front in all of this that a lot of these players, particularly the better ones, have barely played in the fall, and some of them played the Hero World Challenge, some of them did not, but that a lot of the data that we've got, either on the high end, right, the better players, or the new guys from DP World Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour, we don't have much to work with, really, of anybody. So we're kind of flying blind a little bit of a feel exercise. So we will lean a little bit more into past results, past data, a little bit of fit and feel, which we don't tend to rely on as much about fit, because that's more kind of a confirming thing than a first read kind of thing, but we'll talk about that on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have one other event this week. On the DP World Tour, we've got the 60-player Dubai Invitational in Dubai. So we'll talk about that for a few minutes, and that'll be just kind of its own Wednesday show that's just audio. So for the schedule for this year, Monday, voice only, general information about the PGA Tour event that week. Tuesday, video and audio, in-depth, lots of charts, lots of information, lots to absorb, final picks and thoughts. And then Wednesday, whatever else is on the docket that week. Could be DP World Tour, could be LIV, could be LPGA. You name it, we'll talk about it. The length of that show will basically depend on how many tournaments we have that week. All right, let's get into the Sony Open in Hawaii. This is one of my favorite tournaments. It is unfortunately, I think, either the last year for this tournament or the last year for this tournament with Sony as the sponsor. Their title sponsorship ends at the conclusion of this tournament, and there's no indication whatsoever that that's going to change. So the PGA Tour has somewhat, I won't say quietly, but they haven't leaked it out too much, that they are kind of looking for a pretext to get out of Hawaii altogether. I think they found one in the water crisis in Maui that led to the cancellation of the Century at Kapalua. This tournament not having a title sponsor could be the pretext to get out of this thing. Also, that this tournament and the one at Maui are really expensive to build out and operate, and really don't make much money, because at Maui you really got to take a special trip there to go attend that tournament, and you don't really have a lot of fans there. In Waialae, where we are this week, in Honolulu, you've got at least a population, but it's not like the turnout is crazy. I mean, it's still the island state. So this may be the last year for that tournament. That said, we are playing Waialae Country Club in Honolulu. It's a Seth Rayner design. It's 7,044 yards. It's a par 70. It's one of the shortest courses on the PGA Tour. It's also one of my favorites. There, I believe, is still going to be internal out of bounds coming up 18. Par 5, you got par 5s, one on each side. You basically have to take advantage of those. You got to kind of hang on to the par 3s and make your runs on the holes where, under 400 yards. This golf course does have a little bit deeper rough than you might first think. It's a little bit kind of grabby. So to that end, the rough isn't just easy to hit out of. You can get some pretty gnarly lies in there. You can get some jumpers. You can get some really nestled down lies. You can also just get perfect, clean, and beautiful. But this golf course is so short for the modern professional that you really don't need to get around here with driver too often. If you feel comfortable with driver and you can put it into play, you can make this thing a pitch and putt. But if you have a 3-wood or a mini driver that you can get into play, 280, 290, that's going to do you just fine on pretty much every hole in this golf course. And it's going to keep you in play and give you chances to hit these greens, which aren't particularly huge. They're not small, but they're not huge. Probably toward the lower end, the lower end of the middle. And they're not crazy tricky, but they're also not easy. So you could score on this golf course. I think most years somewhere between 16 and 20 under is a reasonable winning score for a prediction for this tournament. Last year, that's what got into a playoff with Nick Taylor and Nico Echeverria. A couple players fell just a shot short of that playoff, including J.J. Spawn, who I thought was going to wind up winning that tournament. Kind of let it go. And obviously that wound up leading to bigger and better things. The start of his year got him in position to win the U.S. Open. So I don't think if you look at the history of the winners of this tournament, you have to necessarily worry about trying to find a powerhouse guy. That is not necessary. Between the guys who played well last year, between Siwoo Kim, Hideki Matsuyama, Russell Henley, Matt Kuchar, Pat Kazire, there just aren't a lot of guys winning this tournament that you think, all right, they just hit the snot out the ball. This is a power player's golf course. This is very much not, and almost to the detriment of the power player. So let's start going in the odds for this week at Waialae. Russell Henley is your favorite at 12-1. He's the best course-for-course play. He's won here. He plays here every year. He likes the golf course. Makes a lot of sense. Ben Griffin is 16-1. Had a really nice fall. Won at Mayakoba. Not Mayakoba. Won the Worldwide Technology Championship at El Cardinal. Used to be at Mayakoba. And played fairly often enough. He's married now. Had a happy off season. He's a happy dude. There's a good reason for him to be 16-1. I think there's a lot of pressure on Ben Griffin this year to replicate what he did so well in 2025. I don't know if he feels that or if that even exists, but I would think if I were him, I would think, all right, I've gotten to this level. Now I've got to stay there. I've got to figure out a way to stay there. I don't want to go back to selling mortgages. Not that he would ever have to do that again, but I don't want to go back to that level. And that's, I think, quite a different spin on his year. We'll see how he responds to it. I still think this is warranted, and barring anything weird happening, I think he's still going to be fabulous. This kind of golf course should fit his game. It makes sense. J.J. Spawn, again, close call here last year, 20-1. Had himself a pretty decent fall. Played pretty well at the Hero. I think he was fourth. Hideki won that. He's 20-1 also. T3 here last year. Obviously a great year. Played in the fall. Had a couple of starts in the fall. Played pretty decently in those. Like a tie 7 and T18, something like that. So playing pretty decent golf. Colin Morikawa was 22-1. I would stay far, far away from him. He didn't really play in the fall. Didn't look good at the Ryder Cup. I think he just kind of needed a little bit of a reset, and I don't know that this golf course really fits him, especially from the rough. But I just don't see the appeal here at 22-1. Siwoo Kim is 22-1, as well as Keegan Bradley. I like both of those guys this week. I like Keegan a little bit more. I think he's more consistent at this place. He's been in the top 12 here 3 of the last 4 years. Siwoo Kim's won here. I thought that was a little bit of a surprise when he did. Then again, I think all of Siwoo's wins are kind of surprises. Pleasant ones, but surprises. But I think Siwoo has something mentally here that could be interesting. Again, you can't really evaluate it from a numbers perspective, but he was rumored to be going to Live Golf and along with Sanjay to go play on the Ironheads with Kevin Na, make a Korean team, and that didn't happen. And he shot it down really fast, and so did Sanjay for that matter. And the thing that he posted in response was a picture of him with the Sony Open trophy when he won, said, see you in January, kind of shooting that down. I think he's got some things to play for just to kind of, because he's annoyed about it. Bobby Mack is 25-1. I think this place lines up with him really, really well. He played very well in the fall on the DP World Tour. He won the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship in his native Scotland, which is awesome. Played pretty decently in the other events on the DP World Tour to end their season. Nothing great, but nothing horrible by any stretch. I think this could work out pretty well. Matt McNeely's 30-1. I feel like he kind of fell off pretty hard toward the middle of the year. I'm interested to see where he comes out this year. Harry Hall's 33-1, which I think is wild that he's ahead of the defending champion, Nick Taylor, although Nick Taylor had a really bad finish to his 2025, but he's obviously got a lot of course history here to like. Chris Kirk is 35-1, has good course history. His last win from Hawaii was not this tournament. But nevertheless, he does have good course history here, and you would have, if you were to ask me, I would say he's more likely to win this than over Kapalua. But hey, it's golf; things happen. Aaron Rye's 40-1. I don't really know what to make of Aaron Rye. I mean, he had a pretty decent year to back up the career year of his golfing life in 2025. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. I think I'm just going to kind of hang out on him. Then you've got some other guys in the 40s. Kurt Kitayama and Adam Scott and Corey Connors. Adam Scott's got some stuff to play for. He's got to get back in the top 50 in the world. Again, putting is obviously his bugaboo, but the ball striking's as good as ever. He's as old as me, and he's still hitting the snot off the ball. This is a place where he can perform. I just didn't really see anything from the events that he played on the DP World Tour and the Aussie Swing, the Aussie Double, to make me think he's going to suddenly just have a resurgence at this point. Corey Connors makes a whole lot of sense on this golf course, except he doesn't putt particularly well. So the ball striking tee to green should set him up for a lot of opportunities. He could just get really frustrated. Kurt Kitayama seems to play well on the seaside/tropical grasses. So maybe that's something to look forward to. I don't think of him as someone who plays particularly well on tight courses. I think he likes bigger ballparks, but could be surprised. Rico Hoey at 45-1. I think there are a lot of people in golf Twitter circles, even though I'm not really on golf Twitter these days, but before I wasn't, that think Rico Hoey going to the long wand is going to make him a world beater. He tried in the fall with some success, got a chance to win at Black Desert and just came up a little short. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I think there are a lot of people who think he's going to take the leap this year. Jordan Spieth's playing. He's 45-1. He needs to make up some room in the OWGR. I will stay away from him almost permanently unless otherwise indicated. Chris Gotterup's 50-1. On one hand, I think this place doesn't line up at all with how he plays. Big power player guy, right? He's been playing on TGL, though, so he's been playing some competitive golf, even though I know those things are definitely not related entirely. And at the same time, I go, oh, well, I don't think Waialae fits his game. However, he won at the Dunes Club in Myrtle Beach, which is also fairly tight and a ball striker's course. So, maybe. Nico Echeverria is 50-1. I would rather make that play than Gotterup. Keith Mitchell's 50-1, has a decent track record here. Denny McCarthy is 50-1. Struggles off the tee, but man, can he putt. And he hits the ball pretty well once you get off the tee. He just has to keep it in play. I think this can work for him. I think he's not Russell Henley, right? Like they're different guys, but not that different. I think he could play pretty well. Johnny Kiefer, for those of you who don't know, is in the top 50 in the world and basically has played like 35 professional tournaments. He is fantastic. He was the number one player on the Korn Ferry Tour last year, won twice, really wasn't even that close that he was the best player. He's a tremendous athlete, good guy. Enjoyed spending a little bit of time with him on the Korn Ferry Tour show. And I think he is going to be a world beater. That's why he's 55-1. I don't think he's going to be in these kinds of price ranges for very long. I think those days are going to be very short-lived. I think he can win anywhere at any time. I'd like his chances. Not saying to bet him week one on a golf course he doesn't know, but it's coming. So just a heads up. Taylor Pendrith and Eric Cole are 55-1. Of those, I would pick Eric Cole. Has a better course record here, but I would kind of stay away. Matt McCarty is 60-1. He really kind of figured it out on the backside of the year, I think. I think he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable playing this tour. I like him there. Mac Meisner, I thought had a chance to win a couple of different times last year. It's just kind of sitting out there as a guy who could be one of those guys who takes a step up. Brian Harmon, 60-1. Again, gets the ball out off the tee. It's not a long golf course. This could work for him. Daniel Berger, 66-1. Michael Brennan, the guy who won over Rico Hoey at Black Desert, 66-1. I mean, he needs like a 2-iron to get around this golf course. If he can keep it in play, which I think he can. He probably had to deal with this a lot on PGA Tour Americas, golf courses that weren't quite long enough to really challenge him didn't really need a driver to get around them. I think he could be very interesting. Christopher Raitan, 66-1, had an incredible year last year on the DP World Tour. I hope he is able to make the translation to this style of golf. He played very well in South Africa to end his year and to come over here to the PGA Tour. Not that dissimilar style of golf. Sun City is also a very tight golf course. Again, but everything's different, right? People are different. The nerves are the same, but operationally, everything's a little bit different. Week 1, that might be a hard bet, but I could be interested in him on a top 10 or top 20. Sam Stevens had a really solid year last year. Didn't really do anything special. I mean, played great, but wasn't like picking up trophies left and right. And I feel like people think that he's an underappreciated name that could do some really good damage this year. 70-1. I will not bet him this week. I will not bet Gary Woodland or Jake Knapp or Billy Horschel for that matter, even though Billy Horschel becomes Superman when he plays in TGL and he's played 2 TGL matches. He kind of has to step it up a little bit this year. So I'd be interested to see him. Ryan Gerard is 75-1, and I think he's a worthwhile play here. Couple of reasons. One, he's playing without the fear of having to go to, doesn't have to get in the top 50 in the world to go to the Masters. He was obviously concerned about that. He went to the African island nation of Mauritius to be able to ensure that he could earn enough OWGR points to finish calendar 2025 in the top 50. And he did that. A lot of respect for that. I don't care what you think about that field. He did it. And so I like him this week for that reason. I think he's playing basically with no nerves or concern. He doesn't have that hanging over him. I think that makes him very interesting. Some guys I want to highlight beyond those numbers. One, Michael Kim won the French Open on a tight golf course. I don't think this is a good week for him, but I want to keep an eye on him this year because he made a big leap last year. And is that something he can continue or what? Emiliano Grillo, Alex Smalley, the 80s. All right, so let's talk about some other guys. Neil Shipley's 90-1. I don't know what to expect from him quite yet. I mean, he's played pretty well. Played very well last year for particularly early in the year on the Korn Ferry Tour and early and middle. Just did very, very well. I think he has the ability to be a star. I think he's got to ground himself a little bit on just making sure he kind of does the nuts and bolts, right? He has all the commercial appeal. Once he starts playing really well, he's going to have a boatload of fans more than he already has. Just got to kind of nail the early landing. Sahith Theegala got hurt last year playing TGL, apparently dropped way down everyone's ranking lists. This is a year for him about trying to come back and be happy and healthy. Matty Schmid, last guy in the playoffs last year, super streaky, does tend to like these warm weather grasses, the tropical grasses. Could make him interesting, but just kind of hard to nail down. Pearson Coody graduated from the Korn Ferry Tour, kind of been straddling those two tours for the last 18 months or so. Is this the time he gets it right? I don't know. Jordan Smith, 100-1. Haotong Lee, a couple of DP World Tour guys, 100-1. I'm not ready for that yet. Seamus Power started to kind of get some things together last year. 100-1 could be interesting. How about Tony Finau being 110-1? He was not good at all last year. And this really isn't a golf course, I think, that fits his game. But that he's making this commitment to playing because of what happened last year. I think he's got to play his way out of it. I would think about him a little bit next week. Seems to like the 3-course rotation at the Amex. But knock the rust off here. Low expectations. Don't get mad if you miss the cut. Next week, maybe an interesting play. Keep an eye on him. Not this week, but for next. And some other guys to point out. Adrian Sadier, who comes over from the DP World Tour, is 125-1. Adrian Dumonte Chissart is 140-1, graduated from University of Illinois, was like the first guy out of PGA Tour U. Didn't work. Went back to the Korn Ferry Tour. Figured it out. Got out of there quick. I hope he learned something in the last couple of years of being a pro to figure out how to do this at this level. He showed up in some warmer weather grass tournaments. I don't think this golf course particularly fits his style. However, guy just want you to kind of keep the name on the tip of your tongue for a little bit later. Luke Clanton's the same thing, 140-1. I think he's probably went through the same thing last year Matt McCarty did. Learning the schedule, learning how to be a professional golfer on the fly. On one hand, the PGA Tour U program is awesome because big name amateur and college golfers get to come out and play on the PGA Tour with a full exemption, all the opportunities in the world. And then you got to learn to be a pro. And it's a very different game. There's just a lot more to care about. There's a lot more that matters. And I think maybe he can piece that together this year, now with his experience, and do some cool stuff. Some other guys I'd like to bring up. Kita Nakajima, 180-1, coming off the DP World Tour. About darn time. He's so good. Such a great ball striker. I think he could be really interesting here. Christo Lamprecht, 190-1, former world number 1 amateur, came off the Korn Ferry Tour. 6'7"? I forget how tall he is. 9? I don't know. An enormous man. An enormous guy. Very nice guy as well. But can he make that transition to the PGA Tour? I think he can. I think it's going to take him a little while, but I think he can. Stephen Fisk made something for himself last year. Good for him. 200-1, I think, is a kind of a slap in the face. Nick Dunlap, I am so curious to see what he does this year. Is the stuff that he's worked on with his driver swing going to start to pan out? If he can just keep it on the planet off the tee, I think he can do some interesting things. I don't want to say anything about him more than that. Let's see the results, but I just want to think about him a little bit this year. Austin Smotherman played so great on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. 250-1, I think, is worth a look here. And I'm going to bring him up. It's Brian Campbell season. It's a short golf course. 250-1, tropical grass, kind of tight. This is a golf course Brian Campbell can play, right? He has all the room in the world. He's got a 3-year exemption because he won twice, incredibly, last year. So he has no reason not, and he keeps getting disrespected like this because he is such a short hitter. But on golf courses like this one, he can play. I think that's a slap in the face kind of number, 250-1. Gordon Sargent's 500-1. He's playing in this. He's going to try and have a go of it. He's kind of lost touch with what made him such a great collegiate golfer. I hope he finds it again, but I don't know if he will or won't. Very interested in him. But a lot of the guys who got off of the Korn Ferry Tour are super deep shots in this 120-player field, right? We don't have 144 players in this field. They've knocked this down to 120. Of 156 next week because there's 3 courses. And then the Phoenix Open's 132, or no, it's 120 now. So these tournaments early in the year where there's not a lot of daylight, they've reduced those fields down from either 144, 132 to 120. So they get these events done, right? There's not a big hangover into Friday and into Saturday. So just want to point those things out. Couple of Korn Ferry Tour guys I just want to get your attention on. Pontus Nyholm's kind of interesting. I don't think he's going to be particularly successful, but he could surprise me and win one. You've got Sudarshan Yelamaraju, who was the basically last guy in off the Korn Ferry Tour, was a total shock winner in the Bahamas in the second tournament last year, and just kind of hung on. And I have a lot of respect for him then getting his card and going to the DP World Tour events and starting to go play those. He wants to stay fresh, wants to stay competitive. He's 750-1. I'm not telling you to bet him on anything, but I think he might surprise you a little bit. And then Rafa Campos, 1,500-1. A couple of invites, Corey Kazuma and Anson Cabello. Those are 4,000-1. So that's everybody. That's the whole field. That's all 120. I just kind of wanted to kind of do this in the first event, set some tables for future events, talk about this week in particular, and then we'll put it all together, focus more on the Sony Open tomorrow with going over our model, thinking about the golf course fits, all that good stuff that we typically talk about on video on Tuesdays. If you have any questions for me, you get a hold of me, Ryan at thegolfnewsnet.com. I am on Blue Sky at ryan.thegolfnewsnet.com. I am on Facebook at Ryan Ballingy Golf or Golf News Net. I'm on Instagram at the same handles, Ryan Ballingy Golf and Golf News Net. You can join Golf News Net for $40 a year over at golfnewsnet.com to get access to all of our tools. You can also get a free membership. Just join as a free member. We actually take away a couple of ads on the website by you signing up for a membership, giving us your email address, and signing up for our newsletter, The Break. You get fewer ads. So a pretty good deal. Doesn't cost anything on your end. We'll be back with another show tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate it. Let's have a great year of golf betting here in 2026. We'll talk to you again soon, right here on The Press.